day 15. Went over some questions, talked about the practice final. We got a bunch of work on IP6 coming up today. Reviewed VLANs, skills based. Talked about addressing. Now we talked a little bit about the importance of addressing and how the world, you have virtual private networks. You can do that like in the cloud, AWS, and well, this is virtual private cloud, but this whole idea of creating virtual networks. Now, in the skills base, or whenever time you produce documentation, it's important to remember title and abstract. Do some show commands where we can see work that's been done. Just because you have connectivity, you can ping and trace route, you still need to be able to identify how things work. In some cases, you need to show what you've done, and then a really good diagram is important. A couple other topics. We talked about the difference IP4, IP6, when we list the mask. IP4 is dotted decimal. IP6 we use prefix length. I produced, or make the solutions available for all the packet tracers, and that's under files. Talk about the importance of troubleshooting in the IT world. Yeah, that's key. Using CDP, other commands. Remember the security issues for CDP? I showed them show controllers, and one of the students mentioned we've been doing a lot of troubleshooting lately. Then we took a look at one of the addresses that we use to create connectivity between 2 points here on our routers. And then we said this part of the address, where does that come from? I had them look up IANA, and then a couple of students, they talked about Aaron distributed the ISPs. And what we want to do is we want to take this, we want to make it 80, because if that was the address you're given, you can't change that, but then you have a lot of bits. We're going to take 16 bits and adjust this address. We need to create a default route out, static route in. We have a stub network here. No other routes to go but this one in and out. And we talked about the static address would point to here for your LAN. Yeah, that's a global unicast address, so those are distributed. Then we took the address, we took an example I did, okay. So I used 20 here. I said this was mine, distributed one to me. Then I took the 16 bits because I went from 64 to 80. So I'm going to use those for the network part of the address. And so the first time here I used all zeros. And I used that network to go from one router to another. And then I assigned here, I assigned a 1 in there. So now those 16 bits would create this address, see the 1 in there. And then I use that one for my LAN. So then that one's on the LAN. So I need a default out so I can get to other networks. And then this router needs a static pointing to this next hop in order to find this LAN address. So here was a scenario for my router. router 10 right here. Here's router 30. Connect to Ethernet. Use these two addresses. This network 1 and 2. You can see this one would be the one on my router here. Used 1 on the other end, so I have a default going out to this router if I need to get out, and then to get to my LAN here, really it was just a workstation on the router. I have to put a static route for this next hop to this router. And then, for example, here's Jacob's router. You do the same. Okay. So, to better understand it, let's look at some traffic. So if I was going to ping Jacob's LAN, this interface here, when I ping it, my router doesn't know that route. So it uses a default gateway to send it to this router. Now this router has a static route pointing down for that network. So it sends it to this router, and this router has it directly connected, so it can send the traffic there. Now, in order for the ping to get back, this router doesn't know this location, you know, the source where it came from, but it has a default that sends it up, and this router has a static pointing back to here in order to get back into this router. And here we're doing it with IP6, works the same way with IP4. And we finished up, we said, we used the Whiteboard, we said the skills base, go back to this color, the skills base was going to be, turn in the lab, and then I'd transfer the lab material to the skills base. Make it a few less points, but so actually get the lab work and the skills base, and they worked on it together. On the last, make sure everybody needs to do the practice final and the packet tracer skills, and then they finished up the routing test in class. So the key things we did, LANs and VLANs, and the basic fundamentals of routing. And this was our network. Again, we looked at, over here we used examples, in and out. This was our scenario. It's hard to see, but there's a router right in there too. Okay, well that's a wrap.